Lucifer. Yeah, you're right. I am the only one with this number. So how is it that I was on hold? Oh, of course, yes. I'm sure it must have just been some sort of glitch. Right, well, I'm only calling because you told me that. Right. Okay, yes. Well, no, I actually have to go. Right. No, I am running a relationship counseling session today. No, Magdalene is not here. She was on the 5th floor when. Yeah, that. Right, so she is not going to be here for a while. Okay, well, they are both here. Okay, so, yeah, the beautiful thing is that I didn't ask, so it's okay if you don't tell me right now. And we can talk later. Okay, alright. Okay, bye-bye. Bye. I am so sorry about that. He just picks the worst times to call. Yes, we have met. I checked you in when you arrived. I wear many hats here at Lucifer Incorporated, and we do have many counselors. However, the niche of the relationship between a human and their sleep paralysis demon, it can be a bit of a specialty. It is a little bit of a complex issue. Right, so we only have one counselor who specializes in that, and unfortunately she is otherwise incapacitated at the moment. So I'm filling in for her today. Right, now I see that this is your first session together. Okay, great. And you are okay, great. So you both have some concerns. Now, the session today is going to be a little bit more general, just because it is our first session. I need to establish what kind of dynamic there is, what both of your goals are, what your concerns are, and then we can sort of work through our feelings, get to know each other's feelings, and then work on a solution. Okay, great. Now, yes. I see. Well, now that is a little bit tricky. Unfortunately, the solution cannot be that the sleep paralysis demon simply disappears. The bond between a human and their sleep paralysis demon is not one that can be broken, but it is one that can be improved upon. Right, so that is our goal. And I do think one of the most important things to start out with here is going to be that we stop referring to each other as, well, you've been referred to by your name, but so far we've simply been saying the sleep paralysis demon, the sleep paralysis demon. Would you care to share how that makes you feel? Right, I'm just going to take a few notes, okay? Great. I see. And those are some pretty powerful words. How did you feel hearing that? Confused? Okay, that's a good place to start then. Now, your sleep paralysis demon does have a name. This is Zephram. Right. Now, Zephram is communicating some feelings of disrespect or a feeling of not being appreciated. Right? And I think one of the main ways that we can start to address that right away is by using the proper name. So we'll go with Sephram from here on out. Does that work for both of you? Okay, excellent, excellent. All right, we're already off to a great start. Okay, now what do you think your main concern is? Right. Okay, yes. Now that is quite common. There's fear. Okay. So I'm going to go through this a little bit with you. Sleep paralysis demon in general is not actually going to harm you. Now, Zephram in particular is quite lovely. Yes, I think you got a little lucky there. What Zephram is doing is trying to protect you. You know, Zephram watches over you. Zephram is there when some more malicious types of spirits or entities are trying to communicate with you while you're sleeping. Yes, because sleep is the most vulnerable state that a human can be in, because there's no obvious conscious awareness of what's going on around you. So, right, so you are open to some, I don't know if interactions would be quite the right word for it, but you are open to interactions with spirits or entities that are not necessarily positive. So, in your case, and as is the case throughout Lucifer Incorporated, we don't have any of the negative or malignant sort of sleep paralysis demons here. They are more positive. So what Zephram is doing is guarding you as you sleep. Okay, that is a fair point. Why is the guarding frightening, and why are you paralyzed at all? Okay. Now, the paralysis is more of just one of those human things that happens when you're in that state between sleep and wakefulness. Now, what Zephram is doing is standing there and trying to protect you from these sort of negative energies and entities, which is why you do not see Zephram every night. Right? These sort of attacks don't come on every night. Zephram, do you have anything to add to that? Okay, yes. So, right, of course. Okay. So Zephram is trying to wake you up. Trying to push these other things away from you, but also trying to wake you up at the same time. And then you sort of get into that in-between state where you're not quite awake and you're not quite asleep. And so that's why your body is still physically paralyzed, but your brain is sort of registering all these things that are happening between this dream world and the real world. Because especially here at Lucifer Incorporated, the two tend to mesh quite a bit. But again, as long as you do have a more positive sleep paralysis demon with you, as you do with Zephram, this is not really something that you should be worried about, or rather something that you need to be worried about. Right. Exactly. Yes, you got it exactly right. There is that kind of protection, and the fear that you're feeling is not necessarily coming from Zephram being negative or trying to harm you in any way. It comes from those negative entities that are trying to harm you, because try as we do, Unfortunately, we cannot block everything negative down here. We do have some rogue demons, as I mentioned when I checked you in, and they tend not to listen to our rules or our code of conduct. The fear is not from Zephram, it's from that. And the fear is also just because getting into that state where your brain is starting to process the things that are happening around you in a wakeful state, but your body is still physically unable to move because you are in that state of paralysis and sleep. That in itself is quite frightening for people. Exactly. Right, exactly. Yes, I'm glad you're understanding of that. Well, and that's the thing, is that generally when humans are alive, these interactions with sleep paralysis demons can be negative, and I wouldn't recommend trusting them or trying to befriend them. But here, things are a little bit different, and we do have our demons, such as Zephram, who have that bond with their human, and they protect them from the negative ones. So perhaps while you were still living, you had negative experiences, and Zephram, I'm sure you don't want to discredit that, and you don't want to invalidate that, right? And I don't want to invalidate that either. I want to say that those experiences are very real, and they can be incredibly frightening, and frankly, they can be dangerous. However, as I said, the interactions here are different. Things are quite different here at Lucifer Incorporated, so I do want to give you that bit of reassurance that the experiences you have with Zephram are not negative, that it is this protection. Yes. But Zephram, we are going to need to work on maybe not causing this wakefulness as frequently, because I'm sensing some fatigue. Okay. Now, Zephram, I think what's going to be important for you is perhaps when there are these negative, malignant entities that are trying to interact with your human, your lovely human, maybe we can work on some skills. You could do this with your individual counselor, perhaps, to help you maybe interact with those malignant entities in a way that doesn't necessarily wake up. No, we're going to try not to cause the wakefulness as much as possible. Okay. Now, that's something that you can work on individually, but would you be open to that, where maybe there's a little bit less interaction for now between you two, and we can trust Zephram to deal with this, maybe, and not wake you up as frequently? So maybe Zephram take the reins a little bit instead of waking you up from these dreams. I'm also going to make a note for myself just to look into this, because sometimes it's just one particular malignant energy that attaches itself to a human or is attempting to attach itself to a human. So we do have these recurring episodes of sleep paralysis because we have this one really persistent negative demon, or sometimes it's just a negative spirit, not necessarily one of our demons, that just latches on and just won't let go. And it's always something down here. It's a bit of a circus. But I'm going to look into that and see, because it could be that there is one that has attached itself to you or is trying to attach itself to you, because I don't want this to continue being an issue. I don't want Zephram to have to keep doing all this fighting and protection. Now, Zephram is, of course, amenable to protecting you when you sleep. That's not the issue. It's more so that this shouldn't be happening quite as frequently as it's happening. Right. No, so I've made myself a note there. Now, Zephyr is going to try, as we discussed, not to wake you up as much when this happens, but I do think it is important that you are open to the idea of having these interactions with Zephyr. Right, it is scary at first. I can certainly understand that, and I mean, I've had my own experiences with sleep paralysis demons, and you know, I've learned how to deal with them, but I always remember this one story. It was from, gosh, who knows how long ago. I woke up, I was having sleep paralysis, and I saw this sleep paralysis demon at the foot of my bed, and I don't have a protective one assigned to me, so this was obviously a negative one. And I woke up and I saw it at the foot of my bed, and I just sat right up and I punched it. I just punched it. You know, I often actually wondered about that. How is it that sleep paralysis happens when you're paralyzed, but I was able to sit up and punch it because it was still there when I wasn't paralyzed anymore? Anyhow, we won't think too hard on that. Right. My point, however, is that we all react to these things in a different way. But I want to get you to a point where you can recognize Zephyr. You can recognize that that experience is a positive one. It is one that is protective, because I want to help you get to a point where you can differentiate between the positive and the negative, because I think that would also reduce your levels of fear and anxiety. And Zephyr, I think we need to work on getting you to a point where you are a little bit more independent, right, with the way that you're handling this. And also, I think we need to work on your approach, right, because we don't want to instill fear, we don't want to instill anxiety, we don't want this to be a situation where there has to be that question of, wait, which one is Zephyr, which one is the negative one, and have this sort of confusion, because that in-between state can be a very confusing one, and a person's level of lucidity is not always at its highest. Right. So I think that these are really achievable goals for both of you. I don't think we're going to have any issues achieving these goals. My concern is that I really do want to figure out who it is that has seemed to attach itself to you. Zephyr, do you have any ideas? Now, do you think it... No, okay. Yeah, you knew where I was going with that one. Okay, so not... Alright. Well, I'm going to do some research on that for both of you, because I think it's going to be important to identify if we're dealing with just one, if we're dealing with multiple, and what the level of attachment already is. But I think we've set some very achievable goals. We can continue working together. However, as you know, well, both of you know, this is not my regular role here. I do tend to do most of the check-in. I'm always working directly with Lucifer. You know how he is. Oh, that's right, you don't. You know, that's a good thing, though. It just gets on my very last nerve. Every time. Oh, but it's alright. So, we have these achievable goals. I can help you. However, the usual relationship counselor for the sleep paralysis human relationships, her name is Magdalene. She was involved in a bit of an incident. She will be okay. She will be returning. But for now, she is taking a break, shall we say. So we may have a couple more sessions together, depending on how long she is away. However, you may be finishing your sessions and having your remaining sessions with Magdalene. If, of course, we get to a point where we're making really good progress between the two of you, and Magdalene returns and you're not so sure, you want to kind of restart and try and fill her in on the history, I'm always open to finishing the sessions with you, resolving those conflicts, achieving our goals, and then maybe passing you along to Magdalene just for some follow-up appointments, Yeah, we do like to do follow-ups even after we've reached a state where we have some peace and harmony in the relationship. Sort of like, did you have a driver's license? Did you drive? Okay. So you take your car in to get the oil changed or for inspections. It doesn't necessarily mean your car is broken down on the side of the road, you have 4 flat tires, your engine is completely shot, and there's no gas in the tank. We're not waiting for the car to get to the point where it is completely inoperable. Sort of routine maintenance just to check in and see from, that. Yeah, exactly. So if the two of you are open to this, I do think that we can achieve our goals of reducing fear. I am going to do some research. I'm going to look into things. I'm going to talk to a few suspects. Right. And I think we should set another appointment. Yeah, you've been doing your personal counseling. And you work, if I remember correctly, you work with Keziah? Okay. Then I'm not going to book the session right now with both of you. I'm going to have a discussion with Keziah. Okay. Do I have your permission to loop her in on what we're doing? Yeah, okay, excellent. I'm just going to note that. Okay. So I'm going to have a discussion with Keziah about it, see when a good time would be to reschedule. Zephram, do you have any? No? Okay, right, you're mostly active. Okay, yeah. I understand. Okay, so I will talk to Keziah. I will loop her in on what the plan is. I will do a little bit of research. And I think a nice way to end this session, if we're all open to this, and if we're not, that is perfectly okay. There is no pressure. Nobody's going to be offended. But I think it might be a good show of our openness to this process if I could see a handshake between you two. Do you think we could? Yeah? Yeah? Okay, great. Okay, excellent. Oh, I'm so glad to see that. Okay, now I know that doesn't mean everything is fixed right now, but I think that's a show of good faith on both of your parts, and I'm hopeful for this. I am optimistic about the process for you too. Right. Now remember, you try to recognize that these experiences are protective, and you try to maintain a little bit of that independence and not necessarily rely on the waking up. Okay. Okay, well, it was lovely to see you again, Zephram. Always a pleasure to see you. And I will talk to Keziah, and she can input that into the schedules, okay? Okay, both of you take care. All right, I look forward to seeing you both again. Okay. All right, bye-bye.